Hi, my name's Tim Clark. I'm a director at Harris & Clark Chartered Surveyors, and in this video we will be exploring the differences between a leaseholder survey and a photographic schedule of condition. This is a question we're being asked more and more often, and sometimes we are also asked, if I only commission one survey, should it be a leaseholder survey or a photographic schedule of condition? These are both great questions in a world filled with confusion, particularly when you might be taking on your first business lease. It can feel like everything is trying to trip you up. In this video, we will explore the key features of each survey. This will help you to understand how these surveys differ, what the purpose of each survey is, and why it isn't really a question of which one should I have. Taking on a lease on a used building can be a bit like taking on an old car that has been modified many times. You don't know whether it has been maintained, you don't know if good quality parts have been used, and you don't know who has been working on it. You would probably either get a mechanic to check it out before you buy it, or make sure you have a large amount of spare cash to fix it. When you lease a building, even though you don't own it, you will normally take full responsibility for its maintenance and upkeep. If you lease a dud, this upkeep could cost more than the rent that you pay the landlord. The purpose of a leaseholder survey is to help you to fully understand the condition of the building and how this relates to the lease agreement you are about to sign. You already know how much the rent and business rates will be, and you will no doubt have an idea of utilities, service charge and insurance costs, for example. The leaseholder survey will help you to avoid big shocks when you start using the property, as it will help you to understand the costs involved in fixing the building during the lease term, as well as at lease end. If this is your first lease, you might think that leasing a commercial building will be similar to renting a flat. In fact, there are vast differences which you might not be aware of until it's too late, and sometimes not even until after the lease has ended. This is because if you have not adhered to your lease requirements fully, your landlord could make a claim for financial damages against you. Commonly, these types of claims will be for sums well into 5 figures, but multi-million-pound claims can also be made on larger premises. This type of claim is known as a dilapidations claim. The leaseholder survey will help you to understand in detail how lease liabilities, including cost of repair and dilapidations liabilities, can be accrued, but more importantly, how they can be mitigated or avoided completely. These mitigation strategies can mean that a leaseholder survey will pay for itself many times over. One of the many possible strategies to protect a commercial tenant against a dilapidations claim is to limit the repairing covenant by ensuring that the premises does not need to be passed back in better condition at lease end than it is at lease commencement. This can be achieved by documenting in detail the condition of a commercial property immediately before the lease is signed. At lease end, the photographic schedule of condition will be consulted by the landlord or their surveyor when preparing a dilapidations claim. If properly referenced in the lease, the photographic schedule of condition will significantly limit the amount of repairs and in some cases the extent of redecoration which the tenant will be required to complete prior to lease end. This will naturally save a significant amount of money for tenants at lease end. This type of strategy is normally very effective, but a photographic schedule of condition will not help you to understand the remaining cost risks you will face during your occupation of a commercial property. The photographic schedule of condition is one of many possible mitigation strategies that can be followed to reduce exposure to lease liabilities, but at present this is the most common way. If you have been advised by your solicitor to commission a photographic schedule of condition, and this has been agreed with the landlord, either within the heads of terms or separately, you should at the very least ask your surveyor to prepare a photographic schedule of condition. If you want a greater understanding of your lease liabilities and want an experienced dilapidations surveyor to help you consider how to reduce your liabilities across the span of a lease, you should also commission a leaseholder survey. If you commission a leaseholder survey in the first instance, the advice given could be that you should also use a photographic schedule of condition. This is not the surveyor drumming up fees, but helping to protect your interests. Remember, it is very rare for surveyor's advice taken prior to lease commencement not to provide a significant return on investment over the course of the lease. Now you understand why it isn't a choice between commissioning a photographic schedule of condition or a leaseholder survey, you should decide whether you want the additional protection of a leaseholder survey on top of your photographic schedule of condition. When leasing a new building, commissioning a leaseholder survey and a photographic schedule of condition could be the best decision you make, as it could save you tens of thousands of pounds. The leaseholder survey is a product only prepared by Harris & Clark Chartered Surveyors, and we will be happy to discuss your pre-lease requirements. You can talk to our team of expert surveyors on 023 81 55 0051. We look forward to speaking with you soon.